In a small, quiet village nestled between rolling hills, there lived an old woman named Alara. Wrinkled with time but filled with an unbreakable spirit, she was known for her unwavering faith. Alara lived in a modest wooden house at the edge of the village, where she tended to a small garden and took care of the birds that visited her every morning. Despite her age, she carried herself with a quiet strength that inspired those around her. One year, a severe drought hit the village. The wells dried up, the fields cracked, and the villagers grew desperate. The people began to lose hope, fearing starvation and ruin. Many left in search of water, while others turned bitter, blaming fate for their suffering. But not Alara. Every morning, she walked to the village square, lifted her hands to the heavens, and prayed for rain. She did this without fail, her voice carrying across the empty fields like a whisper of hope. The villagers mocked her at first. "Praying won't bring water, old woman," they sneered. "We need real solutions, not foolish beliefs." But Alara only smiled and continued her prayers. She tended to her plants despite the dry soil, whispered words of encouragement to her neighbors, and shared what little she had with those in need. One evening, a young boy named Leo approached her as she sat on her porch. "Grandmother Alara," he asked hesitantly, "why do you keep praying when nothing changes?" Alara patted the spot beside her, inviting Leo to sit. "Do you see that tree over there?" she asked, pointing to an old oak standing tall despite the harsh conditions. Leo nodded. "Yes, but what does that have to do with rain?" "That tree has stood through many storms and many droughts," she explained. "It does not wither at the first sign of hardship. It trusts that seasons will change. Faith is like that tree, deeply rooted, standing tall, even when the sun burns hot and the rain refuses to come." Leo listened carefully, and though he didn't fully understand, something in Alara's words gave him comfort. That night, as she knelt beside her bed, she whispered, "I know you hear me. I do not ask for myself, but for those who have lost their way. Let them see that faith is not in vain." Then she drifted into a deep sleep. The next morning, dark clouds gathered over the village. A strong wind blew through the fields, and soon, heavy raindrops began to fall. At first, only a few drops, but then the heavens opened, and the long-awaited rain poured down. The villagers rushed outside, dancing in the rain, their hearts overwhelmed with relief. Wells filled, fields drank deeply, and the once cracked earth softened beneath the blessing from above. The people turned to Alara, their eyes filled with wonder. "You never lost faith, even when we doubted," they said. "How did you know the rain would come?" Alara simply smiled. "Faith isn't about knowing when, but believing despite the unknown. Even in the darkest times, the light of faith never fades." Leo stood beside her, watching the rain with awe. "I think I understand now," he said softly. "Faith is like the tree. Even when there's no sign of rain, it keeps standing." Alara nodded. "Exactly, my child." From that day on, the village never underestimated the power of faith again. They rebuilt their homes and lives, always remembering the lesson of the old woman who never doubted, even when the world around her did. And Leo, inspired by Alara's unwavering belief, grew up to be a leader who taught others the strength of patience, hope, and faith.